Virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and computational design are redefining architecture by transforming the way designers visualize, collaborate, and create. As these technologies become integral to practice, understanding their potential is more important than ever. In today's episode of Friday Frames, architect Anupam Bansal and Darren Rizza discuss how emerging technologies are shaping the future of design, from computational thinking and complex form generation to the growing role of virtual reality and AI in the building industry.
Today, I'll be doing a quick introduction to this thing called VR, and then of course I'll as well be talking about the product that myself and my team and my colleagues are making today, Trezi. So it wasn't too long ago that I was introduced to this notion of VR in the architecture practice, and of course I met it with complete, you know, skepticism because I built a career and understand 3D. I understand space and dimension and such, but I was willing, and so I put a headset on and went into a project, and it suddenly hit me. This has nothing to do with me. It has to do with everyone else that needs to understand architecture, design through the whole process that myself as an architect and all of my colleagues within the building industry struggle with day in and day out in terms of all the others that need to understand and make decisions and such. And finally, with platforms like Trezi and other VR tools, we now have a capacity for everyone to see what we see and and to see it most importantly before it's even built. So quickly, I'd like to discuss with you the, I need to share, am I allowed to share? Yes. So here we go. I wanted to just share about Trezi Academy and what it brings to you and helps you better understand and become better equipped for your profession, your professional selection of being an architect, a designer, and how that's totally different than what it was when I was in school for architecture and when probably anyone preceding you or anyone in the past 5 years has been able to do. Um, I think architecture, like any other profession, there's basically 1.5 billion people are currently being prepared for jobs that won't exist. Because as every day changes, especially over the past couple of years, the way we work is completely different. Expectations are completely different. And so we are forever being challenged to uh, be ready for jobs that may not exist. And this forever has been part of architecture. I think in the building industry, architecture was always the first to take on new technology, and the rest was kind of the slowdown. But now with technologies like Trezi with VR, immersive environments where everyone gets to experience design firsthand at scale. And it's a better way for us to speak about our design and about space and the built environment and ensure that people understand it, that our audience understand it from the very start, not sometime later. And I think what the best thing to understand in terms of Trezi Academy and the course that we're doing in combination with ASEDGE will really help you understand how to take on a new technology like VR, plus all the other parts of XR, the art, um, the augmented reality and the various other gaming technologies that go along with it. And as well, how to apply it to your knowledge that you're gaining day in and day out, and for you to become an architect with this tool, I think is sort of the same experience that those that became architects with BIM as their tool and what that brought to them. And so now we just keep layering on and with VR. So I think with the Trezi Academy, you'll be in great hands, and you'll be able to move into the profession like no other, and with great advantage. That's all, I believe. So I will hand it back over. Stop share.
I would just take off from where Darren had raised one point about the fact that when we were introduced to VR, just as I would say, we are also belonging to a generation of architects who are really more trained with the sketching and hand drafting. And, there was a sort of a reluctance in our minds that, oh, why should we do it? We already are using SketchUp, we are already using Revit, we are already using so many other softwares. How are we now? Why should we get into really exploring a new software, a new technology? And there is some kind of a inertia in each one of us to adopt anything new, and also an inertia to change. And what Darren mentioned is something I'd agree with. But once you put on that headset, once you put on your VR goggles, it's another experience. It's a really immersive experience. You get to see space as it is. You get to really, you like it's so much so that when we were having the workshop in our office, when the Tracy Academy organized the workshop for the entire office, we were bumping into tables, we were just bumping into furniture, because the whole feeling of walking into a corridor, the whole feeling of actually viewing the verticality of space, it was something that you, it was sometimes I can say it is even better than experiencing space in actual, because it doesn't evoke that response in actual. So it's a wonderful experience. You get to see each and every corner of a room, corner of a space. You get to expand, view the expanse of views that you get from the building. So it's an all-encompassing way to look at buildings. And I have to say that it has made me realize that how interesting it is and what a useful tool it is for each one of us, not only all of us as architects, but also all the stakeholders of the project.
I agree. The immersion surely is a surreal, although it's all mimicking the real, it's a surreal experience for all of us. And I'm confident as a lay person or even a client will feel the same. So my next question to you is, do you believe VR is a game changer and will alter the way not just designers, but also lay persons or clients experience the design process?
Definitely, I think this is what I want to say, that first of all, it brings a shared understanding of the project. As architects for last 25 years, I've often seen the difficulty we have in explaining drawings to clients is, I don't say drawings, it's really the entire unfolding of space is difficult to explain or put across to a client, to an engineer, to a person who's actually constructing. So you have to adopt different tools for different people, right? You sketch out something on site for a mason. You make 3Ds in different softwares, makes different sections to explain to a client, and you use different terminology, different ways to explain to an engineer, because none of them is really experiencing the building firsthand. It's only the architect's mind which really truly understands the entire building. I've had examples where, whenever we give out drawings to engineers, and they would put lights in double height spaces, they would put lights in atrium at every floor, without understanding that this is a large cutout that is going through and through the entire building. So this is really what is significant about VR and platforms like Tracy, that it brings everybody on a shared platform. It brings everybody on a shared understanding. It's not that an architect knows everything, but the other people are not able to experience space firsthand. And that to me is the most interesting aspect of a technology like this, because I think it benefits architecture, it benefits the project life cycle. Um, it is simply because of this minimal understanding of space that architects have to go through so many numerous changes, because it's only when the building comes up the clients start realizing what's being made, because they've never really seen or experienced that space. So it really brings everybody on the same platform, it brings everybody on the same level of understanding, and I think it's a great tool to do that.
Mhm. We did talk about the focus on visualization, about how it helps us see the project. All of us come to one single page when we are, kind of experiencing the design in VR. In fact, Trezi is also known, or VR is also known for its collaboration. I've heard Gautam and the team at Trezi discuss many times, and once during one of their other webinars, architect Sanjay Puri also did mention how a difficult client could be easily convinced with VR, because now everybody is on the same page. As you pointed out, the engineer knows what an atrium is, what a courtyard is, and that kind of makes the design process quicker. So it's like an empowerment of being able to see the design in life size at real scale, which helps reduce the timeline of the process. But I want to know and understand from you if this changes the design workflow. Does it alter it, or does it complement the design processes that happen in offices?
So I think we had this discussion with this was also one of the concerns when we were introduced to VR, and also particularly Tracy when they organized a workshop. We wanted to figure out clearly whether it really alters the workflow, or does it really. So, in a sense, it became clear once we got a little more understanding that it really complements the workflow rather than really change the workflow, because you still continue to operate in whichever platform or whichever software you're operating in, be it a SketchUp model or be it a Revit model. It's only the experiential aspect that you really you kind of experience through VR technology or Tracy. So in a sense, at least my experience has been, if at all, I can say it speeds up the workflow, because if you consider client changes, client meeting, project changes, engineering, coordination, collaboration, all of that being a workflow, definitely it speeds it up because of just the simple fact that it brings everybody to a better understanding of the entire dimension of the project, not just visualization, but also not just visualization, but also the entire makeup of space, the entire construction of space. So it really, to me, it complements. But if I may, it kind of also eases the workflow to an extent.
So we've heard about the benefits, but are there any cons that you can think of or have experienced or explored? That's something that doesn't work with the VR or is better in the real world scenario?
Well, I can't say whether there'll be cons of that, but my only worry with a lot of VR coming in is that someday we may be using so much of VR that we may forget what is reality and what is virtual. That is the future that we are heading towards. So obviously there are cons of every technology. It's what is important is to find the right balance and learn how to really use each and every technology to your advantage. Be it a mobile phone, if you are using it 18 hours a day, obviously it's very harmful. But you have to strike the balance. You have to set the boundaries, right? So really speaking, overuse use of mobile itself is not harmful, but if you kind of cross the boundary, it becomes definitely a point of worry. So as of today, I'm not experienced any real disadvantages. I'm also new to the platform. I have been using it for last 1.5 years. So as of today, I feel it's a very, very empowering tool. It's a very, very enabling tool. I don't know where it will take us in the future.
That's really nice to know, because as we focused on the benefits, let's also understand the costs of the product itself. Like, how much investment do you think one needs to make to set up the VR at one's office, from training to software to hardware? When does it really start reaping the benefits of this setup? There are so many questions that our audience would have, because it doesn't imply only with the intent of updating yourself with VR, but also the actualization of these things. Also, for our audience, we have an open floor discussion starting in another 5 to 7 minutes after 2 more responses from Architect Bansal. Please type in your questions in the chat box for Architect Anupam Bansal and Architect Darren Rizza, so that we can have a smooth transition from the moderated Q&A to the audience interaction. Now, over to you, Architect Bansal, about the cost implications of this technology.
So, I think obviously with any technology, there are always tangible costs and intangible costs, and also there are tangible benefits and intangible benefits. So now you have to really kind of understand that the cost is versus intangible benefit. So when we talk of collaboration, when we talk of this intangibles, which the benefits that you reap out of a technology like this, where you can collaborate with your client, you can make a better understanding, you can save a lot of time in design changes. You also save a lot of travel costs because you can collaborate on the platform. You can be sitting, and this is something we've all experienced in the last 1.5 to 2 years. Travel has decreased humongously, and now most of the meetings for outstation projects are done virtually. I still am getting used to it, and so there are so many intangible benefits. But let me tell you, because your question is also all about cost of this technology. And so I think when we started out maybe about 2 years back, any VR headset was costing, if I'm not wrong, between 45 to 45,000 to 1.5 lakh, and the subscription of Tracy was close to about 1.5 lakh annually. But as other technologies drop, prices are dropping down, and I'm sure it'll be even more and more affordable. And so, as we speak today, I'm informed that the technology is about the VR headsets cost about 50,000, and subscription to Tracy is come down to about 75K. So I'm sure that prices will keep on decreasing, and I am very happy to the fact that this is also an indigenous technology. It's not something we are dependent upon a company from the US who's been after us for the longest of time and fleecing us continuously, first by their perpetual model, now by a subscription model. So I am happy to also promote an Indian developed software.
Wonderful one. Thanks a lot, Architect Bansal. I think the one of the last questions that I have that the professionals will be interested in is to understand that every technology has a barrier of entry. What, according to you, was the biggest hurdle that you had to cross, or what, even generalize that to one needs to cross to start exploring these newer technologies?
Well, this is something we, as individuals, as architects, as human beings, face on a daily basis, right? And especially with the huge influx of technology, not only we are, but you are being bombarded with technology on a day-to-day basis. So obviously, there's an inertia, and within office, it's always a struggle to adopt new technology because it's a race against time, and you have to find time, because it obviously in the beginning things go a bit patchy. They are a bit of a struggle. You have to go through the rough path. You have to go through trial and error. But soon you get used to it. So that period is always very rough. And some people at that point of time do not adopt it. Some people adopt it. Those who adopt it kind of come out with flying colors. Some people have the tendency to adopt change easier than other people. And it's also definitely a matter of time. And this is I think it's just the mindset which is the biggest hurdle, if I may. Never, once the mindset is set, then always you can cross the hurdles once the determination is there. And in offices, it does get a bit difficult to really implement newer technologies, but with a little bit of time taken out on Saturdays, organizing a few training workshops with correct collaboration with companies like Tracy, they are not. I have to compliment them that not only are they trying to just promote a technology in terms of sales and marketing, but they're also helping people adopt it, and they're giving the required support which is required for architects to go through this time, with where they can cross over the hurdle and really make it a part of their process.
I think if you look at some of the questions that have come into the dashboard, we can gauge that most of our audiences are students right now, although the registrations had 50% professionals and 50% students. So let's talk about these immersions while learning. How do you think VR can change or should change the way in which we learn design in the architectural educational system?
Yeah, I think for students, how should I say this? But everything is a benefit, but also a danger for students, because it's always, anything that comes in is a double-edged sword, and there's also students also learn everything half-heartedly, and they should. So sometimes it becomes pretty messy. I've been teaching in colleges for last 25 years, so I have been interacting with students, and I admire their energy, and particularly towards new technology. But I think I've often wondered that within college curriculum, there should be possibility to really organize these kind of studios where there are no drawings allowed, and they simply do a workshop or a complete studio or a whole semester on virtual reality, or such kind of platforms where I mean, we have to admit that drawings are passe, drawings are a little outdated, and to be able to constantly demand 2D drawings from students is becoming a bit irrelevant, bit outdated. So why not try something new? Run a whole semester of virtual reality where students imagine there are 2 or 3 headsets. The jury has to wear headsets and experience each and every person's face in 3 dimensional, walk their corridors, walk their spaces, attend a seminar in their auditorium, work out in a gym designed by a student, whatever it may be. So you can really, I think students will benefit hugely. And I would say that it may also help them in visualizing, not only visualizing, but also constructing the space more meaningfully. I've often seen the attitude, and we've all gone through it. I mean, I've also been a student at one point of time, that we finish the work which is apparent, but there are the rear side or the parts of the work remain unfinished, so students can spot their own mistakes. Students can really discover their own shortcomings while experiencing the space. So it'll be an interesting exercise. I don't know if any college has ever done that or is planning to do that, but I would say that they should go ahead and at least maybe second year or third year, whenever the students arrive, they should have a whole semester of immersive technology, rather than being just dependent on 2 dimensional and 3 dimensional drawings.